Now from Atlanta News First Plus, this is Sports Tonight.
Welcome to Sports Tonight on this very, very uneventful Thursday. Not much going on, right, Bailey?
It's been an uneventful week, to be honest, right?
Nothing going on, right? I mean, I don't know anything in the sports world. I'm joking. These last 2 days have been crazy. Like, I can't remember any back-to-back days since really I've been covering sports where you just seen three legends within a matter of, 2 days?
It's Pete Carroll, Nick Saban, and now Bill Belichick. It's officially calling it wraps. I mean, after 24 seasons with the Patriots, it's crazy how long that is. He's coached 49 years in the NFL, which is the longest consecutive streak in the league. One of the best to do it. I guess this is the hard thing. In a way, it makes sense for the Patriots because they have struggled and they are not the Patriots of old.
True.
But I also don't think you can discredit Bill Belichick and the head coach that he is. He's going to land somewhere. He's going to have the pick of the litter. He's going to be able to go wherever he wants to go. It's just who's going to be willing to sacrifice and give him what it is he wants.
See, I think the situation is best for him, right? You have these 8 openings where these are 8 teams that let their head coach go, aren't playoff teams, are just seemingly looking around. I don't think those are the teams that are really good fits for Bill Belichick because I think those are situations that are more suited for younger, maybe more progressive thinking coaches that an organization can build with. I look at some of these playoff teams that might not be happy if they have an early exit in the playoffs. For me, I look at maybe one of those teams that might be a better fit for Bill Belichick at this point because let's face it, he's like 72, right?
71.
He's 71. I think when the season starts, he'll be 72. So I don't know if he's the best guy for one of these younger teams to grow with.
I think the reality is it's less about what the teams want and more about what Bill Belichick wants. And I think the reality of that, too, is he's going to want to go somewhere that is probably warm. And he's probably going to want to go somewhere where the team is promising.
Trying to be like Tom.
But I also think that is why the Falcons have a shot. Because I do think their roster, they have the beginning of something good, not great, good. They just need a quarterback. Now, that's where I think things get tricky. I do not think Bill Belichick wants to bring in a rookie and have to go through that process again like he did with Mac Jones. I think he's going to want a veteran guy. So that means you're either trading for a Justin Fields or bringing in Russell Wilson. And I think a lot of that, the nitty-gritty of that is it comes down to power and sacrifice. And I think the question is, to Arthur Blank, how much do you want to win? Are you willing to sacrifice to win? Because I do believe wherever Bill Belichick lands, he's going to have to be given a key or two to the castle, essentially.
See, that's where I'm a little divided because if you just look at the situation in New England right there, what's been the Patriots' biggest outside of Tom Brady leaving, what's been the Patriots' biggest problem over the last 3 or 4 years? They've talked about personnel. They talked about how from a personnel standpoint, from a talent standpoint, skill position standpoint, they haven't been up to par. And a lot of that was because Bill Belichick, the general manager, was not as good as Bill Belichick, the head coach. So I just wonder.
But are you saying from like a draft perspective, like he's not good at drafting players or like
either?
Well, so I would say to rebuttal on the draft aspect of it, you have to give. Now, Arthur Smith, obviously, some credit, but Terry Fontenot as well, because they've drafted pretty well. Drake London's a good player. Bijan Robinson's a good player.
True.
Who else am I missing? Kyle Pitts,
a
good player. So if Belichick is willing to give up a little bit of that power to collaborate, essentially, with Terry Fontenot, why can't they continue to have successful in drafting and maybe change that narrative?
Well,
That's
old habits die young, right? I mean, Bill Belichick's been buying the groceries for a lot of years now as far as picking the players on his team. He's 72 years old. Is he really going to change now? 71. He's 71 right now. He's 71. Is he really going to change the way he runs things or wants to run things at this point, at this late in the game? I mean, I don't know. I mean, if he's willing to do that, if he's just willing to just coach a football team and maybe have some input on personnel, then yeah, I think it could work in a lot of different places. But
I think it's funny we're saying Bill Belichick is old because a lot of the guys who are GMs or owners of teams in the league are old too.
True.
So you kind of have a battle of the stubbornness of willing to unchange, so to speak.
yeah.
Do you? I'll ask you this, Scott. Do you believe in going for a guy that has more head coaching experience, or going for a guy who it has found success as a coordinator?
Yeah, I'm just so split because we've seen so many different examples, right? I mean, but how often, just think about it, how often do you see a great head coach go to a second spot and be just as great as he was in the first spot? When you look around the league, it doesn't really happen a whole lot. Most guys, there's some sort of fall off in that second job. I mean, most recent example, look at Sean Payton in Denver right now, right? It's not really going real good in Denver for him right now. He was a Super Bowl winning coach with the Saints. I guess Mike McCarthy's doing a pretty good job right now down in Dallas. But generally speaking, if you look at the history of the NFL, legends like that in there, it doesn't go as well the second time around. So I'm more. Well, I'll tell you in a minute who I'm looking for as far as the Falcons.
Yeah. We'll get into the
more into
coaching
that.
search.
But yeah, I think for the Falcons situation, I'm more likely to want to look past Bill Belichick.
Really?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Interesting.
I know that's probably not a real popular take because the guy has won 6 Super Bowls, but I have my reasons.
I would love to hear who you think is better, but let's go to the sound from Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick on deciding to part ways, a mutual agreement from the presser earlier today.
The last 3 years have been pretty tough, and I know for our dedicated fans and myself, and in life, I just learned things happen, and our family is the custodian of this asset, the New England Patriots, and we know how important it is to the psyche of the community, and what's gone on here the last 3-4 years isn't what we want. So we have a responsibility to do what we can to fix it to the best of our ability. Why I love the NFL and why I think it's great for young people to play it, it's a great lesson in life, because I don't think there's anything else, any other sport or any other experience that's as much team-based and collective-based as football. And I don't think either one of those two would have accomplished what they accomplished if they weren't together. And it's, I think they're both the best at their professions. And, we were lucky to have them together for 2 decades. I'm fortunate in our family, our businesses are all private. And so we try to create a culture and develop an environment where people want to stay and stay long term. And yeah, I guess if you look at this as a transaction, he is so valuable, and how we could extract something. I didn't think that was right. I didn't think it was right for Tom Brady, who gave us 20 years, and I don't think it's right for Bill. That I think each of them earned the right to be in a position where they should do what's right for us, given what they have done for this franchise. So some people might criticize me for not, extracting as much value, and I understand that, but we just try to do what we think is right for the proper values and ability to operate, and try to get people who want to come and feel that we're going to treat them fairly. This is a results business, and certain things in life, it's instinctual. I think both of us felt that the time was right for each of us to go off in our separate directions. But, you know, what was really, I mean, you all know Bill. You know Bill as well as I do. For him to say he'll always be a Patriot, and, you know, it gives us, I mean, it's great. And, you know, the last few days, since Monday, since we've been thinking about it and talking about it, I think our relationship went to a new place because, you know, this is very hard. Any of you who are in it's like a marriage, and things don't always go great, and, you know, you get through the difficult times, and it makes the relationship stronger. And I think we had a chance to do that over the last almost quarter of a century. So I think both of us felt that at this point in time, it was in our mutual interest to each go our own way. But knowing that we have that bond and foundation, that's really hard in this business to create, very hard.
Seen this many cameras since we signed Tebow. Robert and I, after a series of discussions, have mutually agreed to part ways. And for me, this is a day of gratitude and celebration. Start with Robert and his family. It's great. So much thanks for the opportunity to be the head coach here for 24 years. It's an amazing opportunity. Received tremendous support. We had a vision of building a winner, building a championship football team here, and that's exceeded my wildest dreams and expectations. The amount of success that we were able to achieve together, through a lot of hard work and contributions of so many people. So I'm very proud of that, and I always have those great memories. I'll carry with those with me the rest of my life. And of course, after Robert, thanks to the assistant coaches. I've had so many great coaches here. They've made my job so much easier. It's a long list, but the amount of work, preparation, and diligence that they do, every one of them. And I say this about the players and the coaches, regardless of how long they were here, how many years they were here, how many years they coached, or what the position was. It was a great team effort, and everybody, put everything they had into it, and that's why we were successful. So, from the coaches, the support staff, it's an amazing staff here that supported me in every way. All the scouting and all the football support people, from equipment and training, security, video, operations, and so forth, right down the line, dining room. I mean, it's all first class. It's all extremely good. And special thanks to Bears and Nancy. They've been here since day one, and made my life a lot easier, or I've made theirs a lot harder, however you want to look at it. But that's a big shout out to them. And of course, a great deal of thanks and appreciation to the players. Players win games in the NFL, and I've been very, very fortunate to coach some of the greatest players that have ever played. Some of the greatest players that have ever played for the Patriots. Some of them are already in the Hall of Fame. Many more are going. But again, regardless of how long any of the players were or weren't here, or what their role was, or how many games they played, or even if they didn't win championships, I respect the way the players come to work here on a daily basis. All of them. I've coached, well over 1,000. But their ability to work, prepare, train, in the weight room, train their bodies, meet, rehearse over and over again, what we need to do things right to be successful, to win. It's just, I have so much respect for all the players, and certainly we've had, many that have been here for a long time, and, had great contributions, and too many to name at this time, but, great thanks to the players, and to the media, for you guys. I don't know that anybody's gotten more coverage than I have, or we have, in the past 24 years. Meet with you guys a lot, respect what you do. You're our voice to the fans, and even though we don't always see eye to eye all the time, most of the time, but not all the time. I do respect what you do, and finally to the fans. The fans here are amazing. There's so many memories of the fans, the send-offs, the parades, the Sundays, whatever the situations are, the letters of support, seeing the fans, away from here, at a gas station or a grocery store, or wherever you bump into them. Paycheck fans here, and not just in New England, but they extend nationally and even internationally as I've traveled. It's amazing how far the arm reaches. We saw that this year in Germany. So appreciative of the fans for all the support they've given me, my family, and this football team. And it's with just so many fond memories and thoughts that I think about the Patriots, and I'll always be a Patriot. I look forward to coming back here, but at this time, we're gonna move on, and I look forward. I'm excited for the future, but always very, very appreciative of the opportunity here, the support here, and what Robert, what you've done for me. Thank you.
All right, Bailey. So just one quick little note here I want to say about Bill Belichick on the way out as we move on. Bill Belichick's career record as a head coach with Tom Brady as a starting quarterback, 249-75. Without Tom Brady as his quarterback, 84-103. Might be something to just think about for the Falcons a little bit, because their quarterback isn't Tom Brady, right?
No, but it was Mac Jones, which is also worth noting. That's like saying, oh, look at Arthur Smith's record with Russell Wilson and Desmond Ridder.
Well, Arthur's just bad no matter what, no matter who his quarterback is, right? So, look, so as far as the candidates, today Falcons released some of the candidates that they were looking at, a whole bunch of them, right? There's but 3 or 4 there's been 3 offensive guys and 4 defensive guys, right? So
yeah, Detroit's Ben Johnson, Bengals, Brian Callahan, and then Texans, Bobby Slowick. And then defensively, they have Aaron Glenn from Lions, Anthony Weaver from the Ravens, and then 49ers, Steve Wilkes and Raheem Morris. They also want to talk to Ejiro Evero with the Panthers. He's been up for a lot of coaching jobs in the past couple years. I know way back when the Packers were looking at him for a defensive coordinator position. So, there's a lot of good names on this list. Here's the thing, though, especially if you're looking at defensive coordinators and defensive guys, this is just my take. This defense improved a lot. You have to give Ryan Nielsen and Jerry Gray some credit.
True.
And if it was me, and I know this isn't how it works, right? When the head coach leaves, his guys leaves too, and the new guy brings in his own guys. But I would try and make it a non-negotiable with whoever you bring in that you have to keep Jerry Gray or Ryan Nielsen.
That's going to shrink your list of candidates because, most guys get hired. You want to bring in your own coordinators. I'm not saying that you're wrong as far as maybe.
No, I hear you. It goes against how this system usually plays out. But I think Jerry Gray is one of the most respected coaches in this league.
Yes.
He really is. I have covered him when he was with the Packers, covered him here. I've talked to players on, just off-camera conversations in the locker room, and they rave about Jerry Gray, about him. So I think he's a huge part to the defense success, along with Ryan Nielsen. I don't want to discredit him either. But, if it was me, I would say somehow you have to save Jerry Gray in all of this because he's a coach worth keeping.
See, I'd be cool with that as I was looking up and down that list, I didn't see the one name I was looking for, the name I mentioned yesterday, which is the guy who name gets mentioned every offseason, but not a whole lot right now, Eric Bieniemy, right? And I know, look, I mentioned him as my top candidate for a couple of different reasons, right? Because number one, when you look at this team, last 3 years, they've spent the first-round picks drafting guys in the top 10. Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Bijan Robinson. And they never really figured out how to use those guys, right? So when you look at Eric Bieniemy and what he brings to the table as an offensive mind, as an offensive coordinator, I think the time has come for him to get his chance as a head coach. But I think just bringing that offensive mind into an organization that desperately needs it, that desperately needs to get the most out of those 3 guys who they drafted in the first round, I think that's the perfect solution for where they're at right now as a franchise. And I think just for the culture here in Atlanta and everything, I think that's a guy who is not he should be on that list.
Yeah, he's always talked about when, coaching searches come up. He just joined the Commanders, 2 seasons ago now? Is it 2?
Like last offseason, wasn't
Yeah.
it? I mean, yeah.
So maybe that's why his name's not being thrown in as much, and they just got rid of Ron Rivera, so they could technically promote within, and maybe that's why.
That's true.
I will say I think a lot of people wanted to see, and for lack of a better analogy, when you're with the Chiefs, you're basically handed the keys to a Ferrari and told don't crash the Ferrari, and Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and all the pieces they have. I think that was a big part of him going to the Commanders to say, hey, go build something your own and show us what you got. And I think it's too early to even judge him off of that, if you get what I'm saying.
Sam Howell's the quarterback.
Yeah, correct. So why not give him an interview, right?
Right, and that Ferrari that you have the keys to in Kansas City, it was wobbling down the freeway a little bit this year, right? I mean, with no Eric Bieniemy, that offense didn't look the same in Kansas City. I mean, Patrick Mahomes.
There's other aspects there too.
There's other aspects, and people talk about those wide receivers, but those wide receivers, some of those guys were there last year under Eric Bieniemy, and they looked a lot better. This year they were dropping the ball. They had a lot of things going on with their offense. So,
well, we're talking about Marquez Valdes-Scantling, who has been dropping the ball
I know that's one of your favorite
religiously
players, right?
since 2018. I will go off on a tangent if I can about how this man just repeatedly drops balls. It is embarrassing.
Yeah, I mean, those guys have had problems, like, definitely this past year, but I think that even last year when they won the Super Bowl, it wasn't the most glowing receiving core, but I think Eric Bieniemy is the sort of offensive coordinator that is able to get the most out of the guys around him on the offense. Patrick Mahomes probably had his worst year as a pro. Travis Kelce probably had his least productive year that he's had in a long time. So, yeah, I just feel like when you look at where the Falcons are at right now, for where they're at, I just think an offensive mind like that, and look, that's the way the NFL is going anyway,
So
right?
my
These
question
offensive
for you
coaches,
is, who is your dream pick for who should be the head coach?
That's it right there, Eric Bieniemy.
That's who you're going with?
That's what I'm going with. How about you?
It needs to be an offensive-minded person, for the mere fact that the offense was the issue and remains the issue, especially at quarterback. I don't care who your quarterback is. The fact Desmond Ridder was having so many turnovers is just wild. I do think you need someone with coaching experience. I think the Falcons are desperate to win and be successful now. Mm-hmm. I don't think they want to do another 2-year plan. I think they had this, 3-year plan with Arthur Smith, did not go as planned. They've been mediocre as all get out. Mm-hmm. And so now they want to win. And I think if you want to win, you got to find someone can win, someone who is a proven leader and has that experience. And I mean, as of right now, that stands to be Bill Belichick. Oh. I know.
Okay,
I'm open-minded, but I think, if you just have to go off of paper, that is the best option.
So before we move on to the next topic, let me ask you one question.
Okay.
If you were bringing in a young quarterback, right? Let's say they draft somebody, or let's say they
so that's the thing, though. If it is Bill, I think it's going to be a veteran.
Okay.
I do not think it is going to be a rookie quarterback. They're not. What I think is they want to. I don't think Arthur Smith was like a bad locker room coach, right? I think things logistically didn't work out on the field. I think what they want now is they want someone who's a proven winner and can make that impact now. And with that, I just think you have to go a little bit of a different route than what you've been doing, which is going for a rookie quarterback, giving Arthur Smith time to develop.
Right.
No, we're in a win now. Think of what the Jets did this past offseason.
Aaron Rodgers?
Getting Aaron Rodgers, getting him his weapons, and just full sending. That is the vibe I personally get from where the Falcons want. They want to win now.
So you're thinking like Kirk Cousins or someone like that?
Don't go after Kirk Cousins.
Right.
But yes, someone more veteran. Let's say hypothetical, total hypothetical. And I know Dak got a contract recently, but let's say they lose this playoffs. Things burn down in Dallas. Go get Dak.
That's a huge if.
Go get Dak.
Okay.
But you get what I'm saying? That's just giving you a scenario.
Okay.
I'm not saying that's happened or it should be Dak. I'm just giving you
that kind of player.
Correct. Okay. Someone who's I'm not going to say the next Aaron Rodgers, but Dak's a really solid quarterback.
Our guy Baker down in Tampa Bay, if he just come off his best season, then he's going to be.
But he's too inconsistent.
Ooh, okay, all right. So
we can have we keep getting on that. We'll have a debate about that one of these sports tonight. And too inconsistent for me to throw more money at him.
All right. Ooh, man. Ooh, all right. Come off his best season as a pro.
Correct. His best season after being in the league how long? And the Browns didn't want to sign him to a long-term deal?
The guy just laid his second.
And then he was with the Rams? And then
I
come
know
on.
this isn't a Baker Mayfield discussion, but the guy just led his second team to the playoffs, right? How many guys lead 2 different teams to the playoffs and a division title?
That Browns team was awful, mind you. It was also a COVID year. And what he's done with the Bucs, I'm not discrediting. He's had a great season this season. But you want a quarterback that's consistent, and he has not been consistent. Otherwise, you're looking for another quarterback in a year or two.
Tough crowd here. Tough crowd. All right, so our old buddy Dan Lanning, former defensive coordinator at UGA, has had a pretty good couple seasons up at Oregon. Apparently said thanks but no thanks to any sort of talk, any sort of speculation about him taking an Alabama job. Says, no, I'm happy right here at Oregon. I mean, I think when you think about it right now, and I was talking about this yesterday, I don't know if too many guys who are going to line up to take the Alabama job. Of course, it's a great job. Obviously, Nick Saban and everything like that. But just think of what you're coming behind. You could come in next year and lose in the national championship game, and they may want to boo you out of town because they would have said, if Nick was here, we'd have won.
Well, it's going back to the analogy I used earlier. You're going to get handed the keys to a Ferrari and told not to crash, and it's going to be almost impossible not to get a dent or so on that car in the process.
Right.
I think, honestly, what this speaks more to than like the complex that is Nick Saban and Alabama and the national championships is the change we've seen in college football since NIL.
True.
I think it's a big playing factor in why Nick Saban is deciding to retire. I think it's a reason you hear probably a lot of coaches not happy with the college game and trying to get back in the NFL or wherever. I think if you have found a good place within college football where you are, I don't want to say comfortable, so that can be negative sometimes, but you like where you are,
right.
You like how things are operating, especially in a really difficult college sports scene, then why not stay put?
I feel you.
And the reality is you're probably not going to have the pull and leverage Nick Saban had at Alabama because you're not Nick Saban.
Right, exactly.
You haven't found the success that he has had. And so the same rules may not apply to you, and that will be hard when those rules that have been set for Saban are the things that led him to be even more successful.
I agree. Look,
And just maintain relevant in the SEC and in college football.
Yeah, look, that's going to be a tough job no matter who takes it. I guess they're looking at Mike Norvell, too, from Florida State, which I think will be another good selection. But, yeah, I mean, to come behind Nick Saban or any legend, I mean, just think about that. We were talking about that yesterday. Imagine coming behind either one of those two guys, Bill Belichick or Nick Saban, at their respective places. That's got to be like a no-win situation. That's crazy.
Correct.
You know?
Very hard.
All right, so our buddy Trae Young, second right now in All-Star voting, which I got to admit, that kind of surprises the hell out of me, right? Because, I mean, when you look at the season the Hawks are having right now and the other good guards in the East, that's crazy.
But that's the hard thing about this Hawks team right now. Trae Young's playing really well. He's off to the best start he's had since being with the Hawks. The only percentage that's down is his free throw percentage.
Yeah.
So he's playing really, really well, but that's hard when it's not necessarily translating to the win-lose column for the Hawks, and they have been struggling. But, you know, I think he could get his third All-Star, and I think it would be very valid too, just for the mere fact of how he's been playing and the points he puts up and how the ball kind of moves him. I asked him about it, you know, why are you starting this way? And he goes, you know, I appreciate it, and I notice all those stats, but the reality is like I don't even want to talk about it if my team isn't in the win column. And kind of just left it at that. He goes, but you can't ask me if I want bogey in the three-point contest or if Jalen should win most improved, which statistically also it's been shown now that Jalen Johnson is one of the most improved players in the NBA.
Yeah. He's really stepped his game up this
year. He is a bright note. He is fun to watch. If you're not watching, you should definitely tune in.
So we're going to wrap it up. Big one tomorrow for the Hawks too, right?
Yeah, I will. That will be what's on my mind for tonight, Scott.
Go for it.
You'll make sure to want to watch the Hawks. They will be streaming not only on Atlanta News First, but right here on Peachtree Sports Network and Peachtree TV. You can watch them here this Friday against the Pacers, and then next Friday when they are on the road with Miami, and then the rest of the games every Friday will be on Peachtree TV. So fun times for this little Hawks partnership we got going.
Well, maybe that will inspire them to play some better basketball, knowing that more eyes will be on these games, and we'll see how it goes tomorrow, right?
We will.
So that's all for Sports Tonight here on a Thursday. Bailey, it's always great when we have a chance to debate these things. I always feel like we always have more things to debate, especially Baker Mayfield, right?
Yes, we do.
We will jump on that next time. Later. Have a good Thursday, everybody.